could wipe the slate clean, start over, just do an origin story, and then only reference it as necessary. Don't every single movie don't re-flash back to him, you know, being in the alleyway of the movie theater after watching Zorro with Bruce and Martha Wayne as his parents. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's that is one of those that it's the origin story and doing the flashback to the origin story is getting old. Um, but I don't know. It's one of those that it's
If it's done right, it can be a great like refresh for the series. But,
right.
I'm almost concerned that it's just been so overdone with Batman that no one will be interested in anymore. Now, obviously, there are people like me who are just absolute diehard Batman fans, and he can do no wrong. But I do get a little weary of wanting to pay to go see all these different renditions and to know I'm gonna probably see the same story again.
Right.
I just did feel it was necessary.
Yeah. It's really not necessary?
What is that?
Another It movie. So you guys remember a while back all the clowns that were coming out and they were, trying to figure out whether it was part of the It movie, and I don't think we ever figured out whether it did. Well, that's making an actual the real clowns concerned about this new movie that's coming out. While fans are gearing up all over the world to prepare for the release of It, the world's, and I didn't know this was a thing, the World Clown Association is not looking forward to it. Stephen King, it's the Stephen King's acclaimed supernatural horror classic It, famously adapted into a two-part miniseries in 1990 with Tim Curry as evil clown Pennywise, triggering a generation of, I don't even know this word.
Clown phobia, or Corlophobics.
Chorophobics.
I don't know how to.
In the world of people suffering from a clown phobia, which April actually has.
Oh yeah.
Which is weird because I work at the circus and she's friends with a few of the clowns.
Mm-hmm. Still doesn't like it.
And she doesn't like underclown. Like she doesn't like other clowns.
Yeah.
Like she has to know them, I guess. And it took me a while to get her to talk to one of them.
Right.
And so now almost 30 years later, it comes to a cinematic adaptation of King's novel, with Andre Muschietti as the lead director, and Bill Skarsgård. Skarsgård.
Sorry.
As the new Pennywise. Although Pennywise is just one of the many shapes it can take, the image of an evil killer clown is not one that can be easily shaken off, especially for children, which is why the World Clown Association, again, didn't know that was a thing, is not looking forward to the release of the film It. I didn't know that there was a World Clown Association.
I say, yeah, that's definitely
but
something.
Two, I think they do have something to be worried about.
Yeah, very much so. I'd say, and I know, as a child, I never saw the movie It, but I actually had a friend of mine who came over,
Tyler?
No, actually it wasn't. It was a gentleman a young guy we graduated with, Ryan Miller was his last name, I think. I can't remember. No,
wasn't Fig?
No, it was Ryan Miller, I think. He came over one time and was hanging out with my brother and I for a birthday party or something like that, and he told my brother and I about the movie, and my brother and I were too terrified to use the bathroom or the sink for months. So it wasn't.
That's okay. I was told about the movie by you went to East Middle School, didn't you?
Yes.
Do you remember Miss Shems?
Yep.
Okay, so Miss Shems was
Yep.
she was a lunch lady,
Mm-hmm.
who was pretty much just stood outside because our recess was in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
With a whole bunch of basketball hoops, and we literally just formed groups and sat there and chit-chatted and messed around and whatnot. And I talked to Miss Shems, and she was talking about how because I think they might have come out with a movie It, didn't they?
They
a while
did,
back?
I believe, yeah.
And she was talking about it, and she said she watched it, and now she's afraid to step on drains.
Yep.
And she told me about it, and it made me afraid to step on drains for a little while. I didn't
Yeah,
even see the
that was the
movie.
premise of the movie, I believe, with Tim Curry was, he could come out of like the shower head, the drain, the like the toilet, the sink. So
Hmm.
basically, anywhere you go where there's plumbing, you're not safe.
Right.
So yeah, and it wasn't. I know for me as a kid, it wasn't so much as I was afraid of clowns because
Oh, I love clowns.
I've never really had a fear of clowns, but it was just the creepy fact that something, and that's where I have a lot of problem with horror movies. And again, I mean, I said this. I guess this wouldn't count because he'd written this. Stephen King had written this as a novel, so it wasn't intended. It wasn't at least initially intended to be a movie. But I notice a lot of horror genre kind of goes to something innocent, like you wouldn't ever expect something like that to be evil, and that's kind of clowns have sadly become a common theme. And I'm not gonna sit here and say it was because of like the Joker from Batman or something like that, but that's kind of a good example. You think, oh, clown's supposed to be funny, make me laugh and stuff like that. Whereas in that series, he's a serial killer pretty much, and he's trying to fight Batman, or it's it, where he's kind of a shape shifting, evil entity pretty much that's trying to kill people. And
Right.
I've noticed that a lot in horror movies, like where they'll focus on children or something like that. Something like almost, like just whether it's because of children's innocence and maybe inability to protect themselves or something like that. And
Well,
I know
there was a movie I watched a while back, and I don't remember what it was. And it was literally this little kid that went around, and I'm trying to remember. He was like dressed as a ghost,
hmm.
and he was the
Oh,
he was the bad guy.
I hadn't seen that movie, but I know exactly what you're talking
Do you
about.
remember what movie it is?
I don't know the title of it, but I remember seeing the commercials for that. And I know I never actually watched it, but I mean, whether or not it's like the child is the target of it, or they're like the serial killer, or the evil entity or whatever you want to call it in the movie. I mean, like like those the Conjuring series. I know that's apparently based on a true story, but they have the doll Annabelle is the evil doll in that, and dolls are children's toys pretty much.
Right.
And I mean, granted, in those movies they made a really really creepy version of Annabelle, because apparently, like I said, that is based on a true story, and the real Annabelle looks like a Raggedy Ann doll,
Right.
and it's not some creepy satanic demon looking doll, which I don't know why anyone would let that in their house. I would burn that thing so quickly if I saw that appear outside my front door.
Well, and there was this there was a movie, and I'm trying to remember what it was. No, it was part of the. Do you remember the Haunting Hour series that came out?
Oh,
It was by the same writers as
yeah,
Goosebumps,
I
or it might have been
believe so. Yeah.
it was either that or Goosebumps. It was one of the two.
Hmm.
Um, and there was this movie, or it was a TV show,
Hmm.
and one of the episodes was about this little girl who was a spoiled brat. It was, she had an older brother, a mom, and a dad.
Yeah.
And there were these dolls that were coming out, and you could order them, and you'd take a picture of yourself, and they would handcraft the face to look like your face, and it was about life size.
Yeah.
And they were thousands of dollars, and the mom's like, no, I'm not paying thousands of dollars for this doll.
Yeah.
And they broke down and bought it, and this doll ended up being possessed.
Jeez.
It was kind of like Night of the Living Dummy. Do you remember that one?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But this one, like, it eventually turned the real girl into a doll, and the doll turned into a real girl.
Jeez.
Um, and then they threw her into the street. She got hit by a bus, and then the real girl turned back real, and that was just a broken doll again.
Hmm.
But it was one of those where I'm like, that's creepy. Like,
Yeah.
I would
Oh, yeah.
never buy my daughter a doll
Hmm.
that looks like her.
No.
That's life size. I
Oh,
wouldn't do
heck
it. No.
I don't even like Furbies. But and I guess that's of course, I guess going back to where I was originally going, was that's kind of the point of this the World Clown Association. Is they're meant to be like the funny goofy guys at the circus and stuff like that. I know, like when I was a little kid and my parents would take me to the circus, I absolutely enjoyed the clowns. And I know we had one of the clowns was named George, and he had a little segment he did with George's dependable car, and it was the joke was the car would blow black smoke out and pieces of it would fall off as the show progressed. So it was obviously not a dependable vehicle, and it was just just kind of his reaction and stuff like that, which was always so I thought was so funny and everything like that. And
Right.
typically they're not meant to be scary, and I guess I can see why some people don't find them scary, because you don't know who they are. They got all the makeup on, they look they're they wear the distorted shoes, the wigs. Maybe different. I don't know. Some of them go as far as where googly eyes or something. Whatever. Just kind of give them their own kind of personality. But you typically think clowns aren't meant to be that scary, but I can see why, especially with Tim Curry playing Pennywise originally, why that would make you very, very creeped out.
Right.
Because I know he is known for being a very scary individual, and he wants to be. So
You know who I wouldn't be creeped out if they played Pennywise?
who's that?
And his name is John C.
I found a button.
Probably because he'd just go and beat you up. It wouldn't be any trying to scare you with a balloon or come get your little paper boat you made out of newspaper out of the drain. I'll just kick your butt and blow out of the wall.
Right. Oh man, I found a button, by the way. So there's this wonderful app, if you've never heard of it, it's called Instant Button. It's what I use for most of my sound effects if I can find it on there. If not, you can also create a custom button. The cool part about this one is you can also make the buttons and put them on your home screen of your phone. So one of my favorites is I can walk around and I automatically have just sound effects on my phone. Like the whip noise when I have somebody do. That's a funny one. So, but no, and then like they have this one where it's, so that's where most of my buttons come from. And then we get the drum roll. So that's where I get all my sound effects from. I don't have the whipping sound effect on my phone or on my tablet, but no. So that's what I use for most of my sound effects. But it's like, I was just scrolling through. I'm like, I wonder if it's there, and I typed in and it said John Cena. I said yes,
Of course.
So no, but back to this. This is just scary. I mean, it's weird.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I never even saw it, and it just creeped me out.
Yeah, I mean, I've since, as an adult, gone back and watched the movie, and I mean, I didn't find it as frightening as a kid would, obviously, but I can definitely see why it's definitely creepy.
Let me tell you what. I watched Halloween once, and I'd be walking home from, and the weird part about that one is like he would appear in daylight, so I'd be walking
Oh,
home from
yeah.
school, and
Yeah.
I'd like and
Looking over your shoulder.
I would do this to myself. I like the Halloween theme song.
Yeah.
And so I'd be walking down the street and it would just pop up on my playlist and I'd be looking around for Mike Myers to
Oh
pop
yeah,
out.
you're like, where is he? Where is he?
Or I'd just be listening to a song and like for about a month after that, I'd be walking home from school and I'd pick up pace a little bit. Once I like had that thought, I'm like, he could be around. And I'd pick up pace and like run home. So yeah, it's
I'd say definitely. I mean, that just goes to show that that's a well-crafted show. But I mean, even like with Halloween, I mean, besides the name, I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with kids.
right.
It's just it's a guy wearing that weird mask, and he's like Jason Voorhees. You can run away from upstairs, and you open up your closet door, and all of a sudden he's standing right there. It's like, how did you get there? It's like I guess he's scary for his teleportation skills.
Right.
But in like it, I was reading a little bit more further down to the article, and I know they were talking about how it was this Pan movie president of the World Clown Association says it started with the original It that introduced the concept of the character science fiction character, and it's not a clown. It has nothing to do with clowning. So I kind of wonder what the motivation was for Stephen King, choosing that to be his form, and obviously I'm sure to probably have him lure kids and stuff like that. But it's kind of a shame that these all these folks that are I guess your honest birthday party clown and circus clowns that
Right.
are now gonna unfortunately suffer their business because some 5-year-old kid wants to sneak in while mom and dad got it playing on demand, and
Yeah.
they're terrified because that clown has sharp teeth and he's eating that child. What's going on? It's like, okay.
Right. Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I really don't know what possessed Stephen King to
Right.
decide,
And
hey,
I
I'm
don't.
going to use a clown.
Yeah, and I don't
But then,
think.
well, here's the other question: if it's a shapeshifter, why don't they have it